I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is the tightening polls in the recall election of Governor Gavin Newsom. With us in studio, Republican candidate for governor and former member of Congress, Doug Ose is here. Plus, the United States Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, on how the bipartisan infrastructure deal could impact you. And comedian, impressionist Matt Friend is with us. He does 250 impressions. Who's he bringing with him? The issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
And welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson. We continue our series profiling the top contenders in the race to recall and replace Governor Gavin Newsom. This week, former Congressman Doug Ose is here in the house.
In the house.
Great to have you here. Let's talk about your background for a moment. From 1999 to 2005, Ose represented Sacramento in the U.S. House of Representatives, where he pushed to cut taxes and add more border security.
Right.
In 2014, he ran to get his old seat back. He lost, but it was one of the closest races in the whole country, losing by less than 1%. He's a successful farmer, a real estate developer. He briefly considered running for governor in 2018. Now he is running in the recall election in 2021. Doug Ose, welcome to The Issue Is for the first time.
Thank you, Alex. It's great to be here.
All right, so I ask all the candidates the same question. Of everybody, why you?
I've got the experience and background to do this. I have the contacts to make sure that California and Washington, D.C. are communicating. I've got the solutions you've seen on my website for the issues that we're dealing with. I'm the guy that gets things done. I'm not a shiny bauble, but if you want something done, you come see me.
And you've talked about the fact that you're one of the only guys with experience in both government and business
Correct.
At the same time.
Right. Big time.
But yet, you know, you're still not doing as well as some of them in terms of the polls. Don't have the name ID that they have, don't have the money, don't have the social media followers that they have. How are you going to pull this off?
So this is a tortoise and a hare thing, all right? I'm the tortoise.
Okay.
So I just keep plugging away. It's just, when I ran in 98 the first time, everybody told me, go home, run for something else. And I said, no, I'm running for Congress. And I give them the same answer today. Do not judge me by today. Judge me by when you have more information. You will find that experience matters, and that's the thing I've got over everybody else.
Well, let's talk about some of the issues. COVID is back.
Oh, big
It seemed
time.
like it was
Big
going
time.
away. The governor this week with a decision to mandate for all California employees that you either show proof of vaccination.
State of California.
State of California employees.
Right.
Either get vaccinated or you have to test weekly.
Correct.
Good idea?
I actually think the governor is within his rights to say that. He is the top guy in the state of California organization. Interestingly enough, Alex, my wife works in healthcare. She works in a pathology lab. At the hospital she works at, she's been wearing masks since February of 2020. She gets tested daily every time she goes into work. So healthcare workers, they're all complying with this anyway.
Say you become governor, what's specifically different?
First, number one, parents in the children that they are responsible for, they are going to get the right to choose where their kids go to school and what mask mandate they have to meet. If they don't want to meet the public K-12 mask mandate, then you need to find another place for your children, and we're going to give you options to do that. We're going to expand independent study programs. We're going to expand homeschooling programs so that your kids can go there. If you're an employee, not of the state or healthcare, but by yourself, frankly, your boss or your owner or you, the owner, are smart enough to figure out how to handle your affairs. Understand there's risk. If you get out of bed, there's risk.
Yeah.
So COVID is a risk assessment issue.
But the CDC points out that kids under 12, none of them are vaccinated right now. They now say that it is safer for kids to mask up in school. Why are they wrong?
I'm not a doctor. CDC has come out with a lot of recommendations and guidance, but I still think the responsibility falls to the parent to make the final decision. And that's, as governor, that is exactly the way I would approach it.
But don't you think the teachers union would fight you back on that really intensely?
Well, the teachers union is going to come after me anyway. They don't like me in the first place.
Yeah.
My job as governor is to make sure kids have the chance to get a good, solid education.
And part of that, I know you talk about, which is school choice. That's not just a matter of COVID. What's your plan when it comes to K through 12?
So I actually think parents, again, going back to the parents are the ultimate arbiter of a kid's education. We need to give them the options of going wherever they want to go.
So is that vouchers? What does that look like?
No, it's you pick the school you want your kid to attend, and the state funding follows that kid wherever they go.
So what happens to schools in poorer neighborhoods when people say, I don't want to go there?
Well, they are going to say they don't want to go there because the schools in the poorer neighborhoods have a far greater tendency to be poorly performing than they should be. So they're going to walk. They're going to go to some other facility where they can get a good, solid education. We're going to know in the first week which schools are performing and which aren't, and we'll be able to say, okay, let's fix this, so these parents can take their kids to neighborhood schools.
So when the legislature and the teachers union, which is funding the legislature, fights you back on that, how do you make that happen?
I'm going to go into their districts of the legislators, and I'm going to say to the people living in those districts, as I've done in the past for other candidates, I'm going to say, this person is standing in the way of your kid getting a decent education. I need you to vote differently this time.
Well, let's talk about another big issue, which is homelessness. One of the biggest issues on the streets of California. What specifically is done differently the day that Doug Ose becomes governor?
So right now, homelessness is governed by a law called Lanterman-Petrus Short, passed in 1967.
LPS.
LPS has as a standard that you cannot take someone into custodial care if they are not an imminent threat to themselves or others. That standard is too high. It means that people who are drug addicted or mentally ill, who cannot function independently, are being left on the street with no assistance. We need to change the standard. We need to change it to someone who's drug addicted or mentally ill who cannot conduct their affairs for themselves. We change the law.
And where do we get the funding for all the mental health and everything else?
Alex, right now, today, we're spending $4 billion a year at the state level on 41 different programs spread across 9 different agencies, and the number keeps growing. The number of homeless keeps growing. Governor Newsom has proposed to triple down, take that to $12 billion. That's not a shortage of funds. It's a mistake in approach.
One of the things that you have called for in this race is a debate.
I have.
We'll be airing a live debate at the Nixon Library from 6 to 7:30. I'm honored to be among the moderators. So, the debate starts. What's your strategy?
I'm going to tell them who I am. I'm going to say, look, I have the experience to get this done. I've been successful in business. I've been successful in politics. If you want strong, firm leadership with solutions, not just rhetoric, but solutions, I'm your guy. I've cut taxes. I've built water projects. I've built housing. I've dealt with homeless. I'm the father of the wall on the border. I literally am the father of the wall on the border. So, again, I'm not your shiny object. I just get stuff done.
When he says that, he means that you passed legislation in the 90s and early 2000s, which is to build a border wall. All right, well, we play a game on this show called the Name Game. This is where we quickly mention the names of your competitors and give you a chance to weigh in on the first word or a super short phrase that comes to mind. This is to get you ready for the debate next week, okay? Ready? All right, so let's begin with Governor Gavin Newsom.
Great father, out of his league.
Larry Elder.
Don't know a thing about him.
Kevin Faulconer.
Plastic Man.
Ooh, John Cox.
I actually like John Cox.
Kevin Kiley.
Kevin Kiley is a friend of mine and a former business partner.
Yeah, you worked on farming together, right? And finally, Caitlyn Jenner.
Don't know much about her.
Plastic Man. What does that mean?
He just strikes me as being an inch thin.
Why is that?
Because I look at the policies he's done in San Diego versus what he's talking about on the campaign trail today, and there's no connection.
What do you mean?
Well, he talks about reducing homelessness in San Diego, but what he did in 2018 was change the methodology by which the homeless were counted, and it resulted in a lower number. Things like that. I mean, he hasn't reduced overall homelessness. He drove it to the satellite cities in San Diego County, so like Chula Vista and Imperial Beach and some of the others. Their homelessness went up. San Diego's went down. I mean, those are not solutions. That's just plasticity.
Sounds like there's a reason to watch this debate next week.
You know, there's nothing like comparing and contrasting.
Let's also get to know you a little bit. I think this is an introduction to a lot of viewers around the state to you, and we play a game called Personal Issues, where we talk about some of your favorites and have a little bit of fun. So, you ready? Yep. This is the really hard question. The hard question.
Come on.
All right. What's your favorite TV show?
Oh, boy. It's Blue Bloods, Last Man Standing, or the San Francisco Giants.
Okay. Favorite food?
Oh, celery with chunky peanut butter fillers.
Oh, that's fun. Best thing about being a Californian?
The sun and the climate.
Favorite sports team?
San Francisco Giants.
Yeah. What's your favorite Olympic sport?
I don't know, javelin.
And who is your role model?
My dad.
Why is that? Tell us a little bit about him.
He was just steady. He was just steady. He didn't shout. He wasn't running around looking for a parade. He just got stuff done.
That sounds good. And real quickly, to wrap things up, your main message to voters on why they should pick you.
You want something done? I'm your guy.
All right, we'll leave it there. Doug Ose, thank you so much. We end with music always on this show. So we're taking a throwback to the last recall. This is some Dee Snider. We're not going to take it anymore. Remember that with the Schwarzenegger and the all over?
Yeah.
So we're going to end with that. Up next, the Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, joins us. You're watching The Issue Is. This is where we get to rock out. Got the air guitar, the whole thing. Yeah. There we go. Cheers. This week, a breakthrough in the bipartisan infrastructure talks on Capitol Hill. We speak with a key negotiator. Is it finally Infrastructure Week?
Yay! It is!
U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm is excited. 17 Republican senators joined with Democrats this week to officially start debate on a $550 billion investment in new infrastructure spending, including $110 billion for roads and bridges.
In California, you've got 1,500 bridges and 14,000 miles of highway that are in poor condition. Every driver pays on average $799 a year in costs driving on roads and bridges in need of repair.
The bill also gives $73 billion to improve our country's aging electric grid, $65 billion to expand broadband internet access, and $7.5 billion to build electric vehicle charging stations throughout the country.
We don't want people to be nervous about driving to San Francisco from Los Angeles because there's no charging station for their vehicles.
The final bill still needs to be written and passed in the Senate and then passed in the House. Do you guys have the votes for this to pass?
It looks pretty good, but you can never count your chickens before they're hatched. So we're feeling confident about this portion. Then it will go over to the House.
Democrats want to pass an additional $3.5 billion at least in so-called human infrastructure like childcare on their own. It's not clear they have the votes to do so. What do you say to the folks on both sides of the aisle who don't trust this process?
What are we going to do just because we don't get everything we want on either side? We're going to walk away from it? I think, getting 3/4 of a loaf, you're still eating, as opposed to getting nothing.
He saved the American auto industry!
Granholm first became well known as the governor of Michigan, then became a regular presence on cable.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Now she's leading our nation's energy policy and working for a boss in politics for the first time in a long time.
Behind closed doors, he is the same guy. I mean, he is all about real people. He sees each one of us. And I know I sound like I'm a total fangirl, but I am. He's really a good human.
Our thanks to the Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. My guess is President Biden loves hearing that. But what about former President Trump? Are you a fangirl at this point?
Well, what I can tell you is that the words by this Granholm person, she's the Secretary of Energy, and she has to know that Biden doesn't have the energy. And that's what I can tell you, Alex. It's totally not true.
All right.
And you should know that. You should know. You're disgusting.
So
you're disgusting.
Comedian Matt Friend does 250 impressions, including Donald Trump. We are counting stars. There's lots of stars that are going to be joining us in the next segment.
And when you're a star, they let you do it, right? They let you do it. They let you do it so big.
We'll be back with more of the issue.
You're nasty.
After this.
You're nasty.
It's already
You're
walked
disgusting. You're disgusting.
Well, what you need to understand, Elex, is I am so glad to be here right now because I am indoors with no one around me, so I can finally have my mask off my face. I can breathe again. More and more people should be wearing masks, as you know.
So what do you make of that?
He did a great job, Elex.
That was Dr. Anthony Fauci reacting to comedian Matt Friend's impression of him on our show. Previously, Matt joined us via Zoom, but now he is here in studio for the very first time wearing the same exact outfit, apparently. Matt, welcome to The Issue Is.
Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. It's so surreal to be here.
I mean, speaking of surreal, it must have been pretty wild to watch Anthony Fauci, right?
That was, when you sent me that, I freaked out. But this is definitely just as crazy being here with you in person.
Yeah, and how are you doing? Because your stuff continues to go viral on TikTok, on Instagram, at Matterday Night Live, all of this stuff. What's going on in your world?
I'm doing well. I'm doing stand-up in the clubs throughout New York City now, and I'm here in LA for a few days. I'm so, again, grateful to be on your show and just making content, churning stuff out, and hustling.
Well, we're grateful that you brought some of your friends with you.
Yes.
And, you know, a big story this week is the CDC changing its guidance on wearing masks indoors, even if you've been vaccinated. I know some of your political friends wanted to weigh in, including Senator Mitch McConnell.
When you're a guy like me, and many Americans have this problem, you have so many chins that there's not going to be enough mandates to cover all the chins. You need 10 masks just to get the one on. Scoobity boop boop, scoobity doo.
Not the only member of the Senate that is with us this week. We know Senator Cruz is also with us. Senator, I know you're very, very frustrated by this mask mandate. Your thoughts?
You know, Elex, I just have to say, this mask mandate is another attempt by the liberal Democratic Party to take control of our government and our rights and our freedom. I want to breathe just the way I did when I went to Cancun.
The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, back with us.
Elex, excuse me, stop the laughing. You're so disgusting. Masks are not essential. They're so nasty. They can't cover it all. And they're just disgusting. That's all I can tell you. And nobody should be saying that.
Well, Mr. President, we want to go to one of your favorite people, another former president of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. Great to have you on the show.
It is good to be here. How are you? I have to say, you just said that Donald was, that I'm one of his favorite people. That's the funniest thing I've heard all day.
Amazingly, only one show can bring together so many former presidents. Ronald Reagan is actually back from the dead.
Well,
just to weigh in on this topic.
Well, Elex, here's what I can say. If I were still the president, I would urge all Americans, Republican, Democrat, and however the hell else you want to identify, put on your mask and tear down this virus. Yes.
Thank you. Very 2021. I love it. And finally, the governor of California, our friend.
Yes.
Governor Newsom,
well, what I can say is I'm still working on this impression, but I'm clearly so confident in my overall beauty that I'm going to tell you that we need to come together, put on our masks, and smile and say, I am a proud, strong, beautiful man.
All right, well, speaking of Governor Newsom, you know, apparently there are a lot of celebrities that want to weigh in on this recall thing. Among them, I hear, is Howard Stern.
I know.
We're going to talk with Howard and a bunch of other celebrities. We're going for this Hollywood night when we come back. You're watching The Issue Is.
This is great stuff. I love this.
Great stuff. Welcome back. This week, UC Berkeley and the LA Times releasing this poll showing the recall election in a virtual tie among likely voters. Governor Newsom, who once looked pretty invincible, is looking more vulnerable politically. Impressionist Matt Friend says some of his celebrity friends are kicking themselves for not getting into the race earlier and wanted to weigh in on the recall. Among them, Howard Stern is with us.
The fact that I am not in this race, this is nuts to me. I mean, there is so much bad stuff going on here. I mean, what is happening?
Yeah. One of the big issues in the recall election is housing. And one of the first people I think of when I think of housing is Jeff Goldblum from Apartments.
Yes.
Talk to us about your platform.
Yes. Well, housing is very simple because we can find everybody in California an apartment. It's called a new apartment check. A new apartment check. Yes.
Another guest with us, not somebody I usually think of when I think of politics, is Timothy Chalamet.
Spending more and more time here. I'm growing increasingly concerned with the state of the state. See what I did, but I just want to help, so you're cool.
All right, well, thank you very much. Somebody who is well known for his political views, of course, is John Oliver of HBO.
Elex Michaelson. You need me, John Oliver, the host of Last Week Tonight, a television personality to run the state, because as we've seen historically, that works out very well.
Also with us, perhaps Matt's most famous impression, Oscar-winning actor Rami Malek.
And I have to say that, you know, I think that if you do elect me, I'm going to make California better than Freddie Mercury at Live Aid. Can I get an ayo? Ayo. You're delectable.
And finally, when we think about recall politics, there is really one name that comes to mind, the only guy that's ever pulled this off. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, great to have you back on The Issue Is.
This is an impression that needs a lot of work, especially like Governor Newsom in the state of California. We need to come together and improve, like this voice. It's getting better, but it's not quite there. You know how it is.
All right, well, speaking of getting ready, we want you at home to get ready. A reminder, our big debate is next week if the candidates don't pull out after watching that last segment. In the meantime, Matt, friend, great stuff. Do you think Howard, by the way, I want to stand up next to you because I think we may be the two tallest Jews in the history of TV.
It's possible.
I'm 6'5", what are you, 6'4"?
About 6'4", but it could be fake news. Could be 6'3".
Look at this guy. All right, Howard Stern, take us home.
Well, I'm not wearing the wig, but everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's been just a joy to be here, and I love you guys. Thank you so much.
We love you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks,
The
guys.
Issue Is. See you next week with the debate.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is where
This is the white guy shuffle.
Great stuff. Thank you.